You want to be the dumbest person in the room. You want to put yourself in rooms where everybody else has done more, has more experience, is more knowledgeable and more capable than you are.
Yeah.
Because you'll rise to that level.
Yeah. We feel like we've got our stuff together pretty well. And then you and I just went to a self-storage conference there in Indiana. When we got there, how did we feel?
Stupid.
All of a sudden, zeros,
wow,
man.
Yeah, we had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, I felt like kids. The coloring table's over there, guys. All right, the big boys go in this room, you guys go color. It really felt that way, but it was really awesome. Welcome to Courageous Stewards, the podcast where legacy meets leadership.
We believe stewardship isn't just about managing resources. It's about multiplying impact, honoring purpose, and building with eternity in mind. Each week, we dive into business-focused discussions on real estate investing on a foundation of faith and family.
We have a desire to inspire listeners with a heart to reclaim their time, talents, and treasures for something greater. Whether you're growing your portfolio, leading a business, or a family, we need to become the best version of ourselves.
This is your space to gain wisdom, walk in courage, and steward what matters most.
Let's build what lasts. Let's lead with love.
Let's become Courageous Stewards.
Welcome back to the next episode of the Courageous Stewards podcast today, where we have faith, leadership, and legacy that collide. We're just excited to have listeners here today. We're talking about stewarding small beginnings. How do you build impact with just what's in your hands when you feel like oftentimes you start with nothing? That's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. If you're out there right now and you're hearing ideas, you've got friends, people that you're excited to hear about what they're doing, and you're going, well, how am I supposed to do this? How do I get started? And how can I create impact? So that's what we're going to be diving into today.
I think people need to recognize that most everything starts with small beginnings. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's actually something that the Lord is proud of. He rejoices, I guess you could say, in small beginnings. And he celebrates the start. A lot of people just don't start. A lot of people just sit and think and dream and aspire to more, but never actually take action doing it. And so most of the time, you're going to start small, and that's okay. You're not going to be where somebody is who started 10, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. You're going to be right where you are on deal one, on job one, and that's okay. Job one is what gets you to 20 years down the road where you look back and say, I'm sure glad I started.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, give yourself time to become that person that you're looking up to with where you're at, because it does. It takes time, it does grow, and it can work. And I think God rejoices in that desire to grow and become more than maybe even your upbringing or where you came from.
I think we need to remember, too, that small beginnings are not punishment, they're preparation.
Yeah.
If we can have that mindset, small beginnings are preparation, they're not punishment. So keep that in your mind. You're being prepared for something greater. And if you're faithful with a little, he'll make you faithful over a lot.
Yeah, it's very true. I think we think we want something that's out there, that big goal, right? But it really is, God's going to have to do his work. And if you allow him to do it, and you have the perspective you just said, Jake, of just allowing that journey to happen, allowing God to multiply what he has in store for you. But it takes struggle, it takes time to get there. But it's just, he's going to strengthen your heart. He's going to prepare you for the thing. Because if he gave it to you now, if he gave you everything now, you wouldn't be ready.
Oh, you fall apart.
And so it's being able to recognize that.
Yeah. So let's talk about the mindset of multiplication. We have three
shifts of mindset in regards to multiplication. We're looking at number one. It's a perspective shift here from scarcity to assignment. I think anybody at any given time can sit and look at their life and go, I don't have. I don't have this. I don't have that. I want that. Right? That's a scarcity mindset. If you can shift to assignment to go, I'm on call right now from Christ. He's got a mission for me, and I'm doing exactly what he calls me to do. You can change to almost an abundant mindset through that perspective of assignment.
That's the word that I was just going to say, thinking back about many, many entrepreneurs that I've had the privilege of knowing. Most all of them have an abundance mindset. If you go into an entrepreneur situation with a scarcity mindset, you're almost destined to fail.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have an abundance mindset and recognize that even when things are tough, they're not always going to be perfect. there's something better down the road. I'm going to keep pursuing it, and I'll get there.
That's a great thing to share with the listeners, because it is so important. If you had a scarcity mindset trying to do something, just because it got hard, you'd quit because you go, I don't have it, it's not working, right? That's the thing. It's not working. Everybody loves that. That's such an easy thing to hide behind. It didn't work. Maybe you didn't work. Maybe God's like, no, I had more for you, but I need your feet to move.
Yeah.
God he's in control, and we have to follow his plan for our lives, but he needs us to move.
Maybe you're just one step away from that thing working that you're thinking is not working now, and you're ready to quit.
Yep.
And you just continue to take one more step, and then one more step, and then one more step. Before long, you've done that very thing that you thought was impossible, and you don't even realize it.
Yep. I'm reminded of the walls of Jericho. It's that whole go around 7 times.
Yeah.
They went around and nothing happened. You imagine, talk about a level of faith you have to go around that 7th time for those walls to fall. Because
what would have happened if they quit at 6?
Yeah. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
So I go back to that a lot. I'm like, okay, one more time around.
Yeah.
It isn't fun right now. It's tough. And I think God, he does multiply what we surrender. I think people want God to be a tool to multiply things they think he should multiply, or that they want him to multiply. He multiplies what you surrender. Only when it's back in his hands and you've truly surrendered all of it to him does he multiply it.
Yeah.
And I think that's just something that I have to be reminded of each day and go back to, because I lost sight at one point of what I thought success looked like. It was supposed to be a number in my bank account and the business account. And it's like, when I step back and I go, this is God's, and we're doing, the business is giving and doing what it was supposed to do. My mission statement, my why, we're all rooted in making sure I'm growing God's kingdom and giving back whatever he gives to us. We are blessed. And I was reminded of then, this is successful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had to remember that it was surrendered to him. It is successful.
Yeah.
From a worldly view at that moment in time and my selfish desires, it's like, it didn't look like it on paper, but it has nothing to do with that,
Yeah. So number 2 is from comparison to calling.
This is a good one.
This is a really big one, I think, for real estate investors in particular. Probably everybody can fit into this somehow.
You and I struggle with it. I know we deal with it.
Yeah.
I sit across the table from you and I deal with it with you,
Yeah.
because I'm like, man, Jake's got this, Jake's got that. I want to get there, and I know I'm going to.
Yeah.
But we all have that comparison thing, and it was just like you said. There's time, there's effort already made.
Yeah.
You've done the work to get where you are. I need to do the work to get to that point. And so we see people around us, even we know, that are like killing it, and you still go, I don't know how they're doing some of these things, and you want it, but you can't fall into the comparison trap. It just doesn't help. It doesn't help anything. It adds no value.
The Lord has given you a different calling than he's given me.
Amen.
And others the same. And a lot of times, I think in the real estate space, a lot of real estate investors want to express, in particular, how many doors they have. Like, that's kind of puff out your chest.
Sure
and,
is. It's an easy number.
I have this many doors, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's something to be proud of,
Sure.
that you've accomplished something, to that level. But I think it's a way of comparison rather than really recognizing the calling that God has. Something that really has resonated with me was an episode that we did not too long ago with Jacob and Tori Peterson. And Tori has an incredible calling on her life. We know that. And Jacob has come alongside her to support her in her calling, but also they're real estate investors.
Yeah.
And they have 5 properties. And they're so incredibly proud of those 5 properties. They've put so much heart and blood, sweat, and tears into those properties. They've paid them off.
Yeah.
They don't owe on them. They are staples in the community that we live in. You can drive by the property, or you can tell somebody, I should say, about that property, and they go, I know which property you're talking about. It's that exact one. I've driven by it 100 times, and I always said somebody should redo that. Well, guess what? Jacob was the one who did. He recognizes that that's his calling. His calling is not necessarily to have 1,000 units and manage all of these property. It's to stay in his lane and do what he's been called to do.
That episode was really fun because you found out his calling and what his attraction was to property. When we find out he was really into the historic and the character-based properties, and it was so just lit up. You could just see it right here on the episode, how excited he got.
Yeah, absolutely. So that resonated with me. I think we need to remember that all of our callings are different.
Yes.
Mine is not the same as yours, and yours is not the same as the next person, and so on and so forth. So try to lean into what God has called you to do and get wildly successful at that thing.
We are so quick to compare our shortcomings to somebody else's giftings. We will look at them and go, man, they're killing it. I'm not good at that thing. It's like, stop comparing your weakness. That's because that's one of their gifts.
Yeah.
Be okay with that. They're better than you at that thing. Be okay with that. What are you good at?
Right.
And recognize that gifting that you have.
Right. So number 3, perfection to progress.
I like this one. This is like a staple for this whole entire podcast, Jake.
Yeah.
This is your word, is action. But I found it interesting. Even Scripture says it in Ecclesiastes 11:4. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Waiting for perfect condition kills momentum. So if you picture somebody out there waiting to farm and they're just waiting for the weather to be just right, and they don't put seed and they don't put, it's over. Like, that's it. Nothing has happened. So you have to take action and move and not overthink it. And I just love that actually Scripture calls us to do that too.
Yeah, I'm convinced that there's no such thing as perfect other than God. Christ is perfect. But in our worldly situation and the things that we deal with day to day, there is no perfect. If you wait on perfect, you may as well just quit now because it's not going to happen. You have to step out and create some progress day to day. We say it a lot, even on this podcast. We want to create 1% improvement as often as possible. And so we do that. Even on this episode, we're trying some new lighting and we adjusted some plants, and we spent several hours out here just last night trying to adjust the cameras and make some setting changes and any little thing that we can do to just improve. And that goes the same way in anything else that you're doing too, whether it be working to establish a great home life for your family, or establishing yourself in a community as an entrepreneur, or your next investment property. Maybe you're transitioning from residential to commercial, whatever it is, you have to step out, make progress, one thing at a time. You're not going to get there today or tomorrow. You'll get there down the road.
Yeah.
And then you'll look back and go, I'm now frustrated with the things that I prayed for 10 years ago. I'm in the middle of that thing that I was crying out to God for, saying, I want so badly to be there, and now I'm angry about it.
I love that moment because I have those regularly. And it's so much fun to catch those when you're in the middle of them and just kind of look and laugh.
Yeah.
But that's so good. And those small beginnings become impact when your mindset aligns with God's. That's when it becomes a big impact. God's not saying you have to have all this great stuff and then you can go make an impact. There are people with way less than you have out there making a big impact. And there are people with a lot more than you have making a big impact. I just love to remember that you can be an impact anywhere you're at with whatever you have.
So let's talk about practical stewardship. Something I think people need to remember is that stewardship is built on consistency, not intensity.
Yep.
You have to put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward every single day. Consistency is where stewardship is built.
Yep.
So let's put some practical steps in place.
Again, this is another one in your pocket. It's as if this episode was built around what you stand for. So this is great because we're talking about stewardship here, which is utilizing what you have where you're at for God's kingdom.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think when we talk stewardship, and you're talking about God, it's like, okay, I got to give more money. I got to tithe. I got to donate more money to the church. It's so much more than that. And you've said that over and over again, even to me, and that's really deep in your heart. And I love that. But stewardship is giving time, which is our first practical step, which is how much time do you have? What are you doing with the time that you have? You're going to work. You're spending some time with friends and family. What are you doing in your free time? And is it producing? Is it stewarding it well? And so we have to be reminded that is something you can steward with. It doesn't take money. It doesn't take more of your precious income that you're worried about having to give. Just give your time to somebody or something that's going to help align with God's purpose for your life.
And I want to kind of take the opposite approach to what you just said, which I totally agree with. I have a really hard time saying no sometimes. But I think you need to remember that every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And maybe that no that you're saying is really where God has called you to be. So be careful about saying yes to everything. Not that you don't want to try to help people in their hour of need, step up and be helpful to others.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would get quiet and get the Holy Spirit's heart on where exactly you're supposed to be saying yes. And maybe where you're supposed to be saying no. It's okay to say no respectfully, because by saying no, you're saying yes to the calling that God really has on your life.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes. An example for me was serving with my church and volunteering with my church for a while. I was doing that and having small groups, things like that, but then we were going to start the business that year, and I had felt a calling on my life, and there was too much going on that year, and I had a lot of reservations to letting the church know I was going to be backing off on the serving and the volunteering for a while. It's tough, but I had to say no there because I knew what I was growing was what God was telling me to grow. And now I find the bandwidth, I found a little more balance. I think I can get plugged back in. But sometimes it's hard to say no, but you're absolutely right. You have to balance it.
Yeah.
You cannot do everything all the time.
You can't. You'll burn yourself out.
Yep.
And that's not really what God has called us to do anyway. He's given you a specific group of talents and abilities. He's laid those on your heart and put those in your body to accomplish different than he has me or the next person. So recognizing that and leaning into those abilities, saying no to some things so that you can say yes to other things is really important. And there's a scripture that I like to come back to that was written by King David in Psalms. And it says, "Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom." I think something that people forget sometimes is that you don't get your time back. It's easily the most important thing that we have on earth, our time. And yet people spend their time doing so many things that, quite frankly, are just kind of unimportant. So I would encourage people to think more deeply about the time that you're spending, where you're spending it at, and choose a little more wisely about how you're spending your time.
Yeah.
Make sure it's where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I think it's good to take inventory sometimes and look back on a day or two or a couple of days, see where your time all went, just like where your money goes. I think it's important to have a financial budget. Why shouldn't we have a time budget? Did I utilize my time the best I could have?
Yep.
You need some downtime. You need some relaxed time. But if that's half your day, you might be able to purpose that time a little bit better. So that's a good one.
Yeah. So practical stewardship, step 2 is the money side.
Here we go.
Let's
So we're in
talk about
money
that a
now.
little bit.
So you've got it's the one everybody loves. But the word surrender comes back to mind with this. So we're talking about money, and that is the part that is hard for most people. I say that because it was hard for me. I didn't get it till much later, and now I can't give it fast enough because I've seen what God does with it, and that comes from a posture of surrender. I had to know it was His. It came to me from Him, and that it's His to go back to in the first place. It was never mine. And so you have to posture for stewardship to just have a heart that it was already His, so it makes it easier. So if you are able to give financial resources, that you do so with a generous heart, not a reluctant one. You shouldn't feel like you have to do it. You don't want to do it. God wants a generous giver. That's where He bears the fruit. And surrendering it to Him. So Jesus said, whoever can be trusted with little can be trusted with much. He needs to see what you do with $100 before He's ever going to give you 1,000. Then He needs to see what you're going to do with 1,000 before He's ever going to give you 10.
Right.
It really is something where He multiplies what you surrender to Him. And financial resources is a perfect example. It's just the hardest one to let go of for most people because it's a tough one. You can't worship two gods, so you've got to let that go. And for me, that's been an ongoing journey. I've come a long way, and I've seen the fruits of it. I've absolutely seen the fruits of it.
It's funny. You and I have had a lot of conversation about having the heart of a giver. Sometimes that just starts out of obedience because you don't necessarily always feel like it.
Great point.
I think that everybody has been in a position where they're like, I'm not in a position where I can give. I don't have the money to give.
Such a good point.
But you do. You do.
Yep.
And the Lord will provide whatever it is if you trust in Him and move forward.
Yep. I'm not proud. I'd be lying if I sat here and said it wasn't easier because most of mine are automated. And then even our generosity fund is a place where we park money when we want random moments of generosity. So mine is very structured, because I still wonder sometimes if my heart, if I would always be in the position to go, okay, we had a rough month. Holy moly, that number's pretty big there. I have to move that now. And like, so having it automated is nice. Takes the thought out of it. Yeah. It just is what we do. In fact, it's first. It's the first thing we do.
It's almost like making it part of your identity.
Yes.
It's not, am I going to? It's just, I am a
Yes, I do.
giver.
Yep.
I'm going to give.
Yep. My wife and I just talked about it this morning. Now I'll try.
Yeah.
I don't, even if it's a small amount, just I do, I am.
Yeah.
Just say it with intentionality. She told me this morning, and it was brilliant. It's just a small thing. Is I'll try is giving yourself permission not to. Mm-hmm. I try says, well, it's okay if I didn't. And it's having grace with yourself if you do fall short on it. But saying I am, I will, I'm going to, and ours is, like I said, is top of the list, number one, and it just happens automatically, and then everything else. But it still would be at times probably a struggle for me because it is tough to separate and do that and commit to it.
Sometimes you just have to put your mind and your heart in check and say, I'm going to do this, even though I don't feel like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've got to do it over feeling. So number three. Big one. I mean, relationships.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, relationships are so vitally important when it comes to stewardship. And I think I would probably take this back even more so to the family side of stewardship. Showing up for your spouse, being there for your kids, going to the events and opportunities that are presented. Are you going to be interested in everything that they're doing? Absolutely not. That's just a fact. But you're interested in them. Yep. You love them. They see that you're there. You're there side by side with your partner every step of the way, through the hard times, through the easy times, and then stepping out into your community, finding those people who you can reach back and say, I was where you are one time. Mm-hmm. Let's go. Yep. I got you. Let's make you a success, not only in this area, but also while we're on the way, I'm going to show you a couple other areas maybe in your life where you can improve too.
Yeah, I love that. I really do. It's one of the most fulfilling times we spend is when you come alongside somebody and be a small impact in their life, let God use you to help grow them. And because I know I've had people do that for me.
Yeah.
When we went over just to help the boys wrap up a little project yesterday evening, it's like they're doing the work, they're showing up, they're doing what they need to do. So us getting involved in helping is just a little bit of like, we want to help you guys be successful because we know you can do it. So
yeah, and it's a little bit of a proud dad moment at that point because you've seen the work they put in.
Yeah.
They've done 3 days worth of work that they thought was going to take them one. Out in the rain, they're busting their hump trying to get this job done. And you could tell that the guy was very pleased and proud of the work that they had done up to that point. And we just stepped in because they were just struggling to get the job finished. So things like that are rewarding, I would say.
And setting that example, right, for those boys to see that it's like, we just did this just to be nice to help.
Yep.
And so it's good. But relationships and having people around us that sharpen us too, you have to look for people that you can build up, but you've got to remember that it's important. You are surrounding yourself by people better, like winning more than you, doing more than you, that you can learn from, that are willing to pour into you, that are, good counsel and good people. Because I've had that in my life too, over and over again. And nothing I have would be possible without those people that came alongside, showed a little bit on how to do it and supported.
We've talked about the importance so many times of community in the space that you're in, whether you're an entrepreneur or an investor. You want to be the dumbest person in the room. You want to put yourself in rooms where everybody else has done more, has more experience, is more knowledgeable and more capable than you are.
Yeah.
Because you'll rise to that level.
Yeah. We feel like we've got our stuff together pretty well. And then you and I just went to a self-storage conference there in Indiana. When we got there, how did we feel?
Stupid.
All of a sudden, zeros,
wow,
man.
Yeah, we had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, I felt like kids. Like the coloring table's over there, guys. All right, the big boys go in this room. You guys go color. Like it really felt that way, but it was really awesome to be able.
Now that you say that, as we had conversation, it's funny to see how the other folks just kind of welcome you, and they're not looking down at you. They're not.
No, I didn't feel that way at all by anybody we engaged with. It was just being in the room, I guess, with all those people that knew more than we did, have been doing it longer than we did. But everybody we engaged with was so helpful, so knowledgeable, and almost just excited that you were in the space.
Yeah, you find that walking into the space, you feel inferior. And when you get there, you feel more times than not like you belong, just because the folks that are there are usually more than willing to welcome you
Yep.
and encourage you and help you in any way that they can. You don't feel that way beforehand. You're like, I don't think I can do this.
I didn't feel qualified to be in the building.
Right.
But
right.
it turned out great. So relationships, being willing to get out there, network, those small moments of stewardship with time, money, and relationship compounds like interest does.
Oh,
And I mean, we've talked about that before.
Yep.
Is your life may look here at a certain point, and then you start stewarding those relationships, and it feels like it's taking time to see what it is you think you want to see. But if you stay consistent, like you said, that compounding starts to occur, and then you're looking back going, whoa, I remember day one. I remember year one, and now I'm at year 10. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I feel that way sometimes now, and I'm only into my third year. It's like, how did this go this well? But it's consistency, stewardship, and small moves to make the big impact that you're wondering how you can make with what you have.
Yeah. So let's talk life application. How is this applicable? And maybe a story or something that you have that we can somehow make this an applicable thing in our own lives.
So I think it would be funny just to share that, like, a real life application of starting small and just being willing to do it. I mean, we can talk about the podcast even. We were just joking about it a minute ago before we started the episode. You guys have done incredible on setup and lighting, and this has been really awesome to see what this has turned into. But I also remember you and me, like, on a date when we were just talking about having a podcast.
We've told this story before, but you should tell it again.
And
it's funny.
We knew we needed to be creating content. We needed to start recording material.
Yeah.
And so we just got together at my house the one afternoon, and I took a table lamp off, took the cover off the top of the table lamp, and just kind of pointed the bulb at us at on the table we were on, and had a big picture that was hung on the wall as our backdrop,
Yep.
Horrible lighting, horrible audio.
Shadows everywhere.
It was bad.
Yeah.
But we recorded it, and we had an episode. We had coffee, had great conversation, but it was just awful. And we could have stopped then. We could have been like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
You see how bad that nobody's going to watch this. And we could have stopped.
Right.
But then we went, day 2, and we did some more shorts, or maybe we went out and recorded our day in the life of, and then we started setting up here, and then it was a camera, and then it was, how do we shoot this? And just consistency. So
I think
for
through
us,
this process, I have realized that we are doing this for the one. And of course, we want to see it grow and we want it to impact others on a larger scale. But if we keep the perspective that if we're just impacting one person, it's worth it.
Yeah. Yep.
And we're just going to keep improving, and hopefully then we can impact another person and then another and so on and so forth. But we're just doing it for the one.
Yeah. It's a really good heart position to have when you're doing something like this. And so it was obedience to that very point. It was just obedience. Like, somebody out there is waiting for us to keep going, to hear us, to do the thing, and to be inspired.
Yeah.
So Deuteronomy 28:8 says, "Lord will command the blessing on your barns and all you undertake." There's a big thing there that's being said, is that he'll command a blessing on all your barns and what you undertake. He's not going to just command the blessing on it because you asked for it. The word here is undertake. This is the work part. This is the effort part. So the small beginning, taking action to do it, and then trusting that God's going to bless what it is you're building through your action.
So maybe a little more of the foundation.
Yeah.
Foundation point.
And so it's that building in the dark, the foundation, right? Mm-hmm. You're building in the dark. So I had heard something the other day online. I think Myron Golden had said on one of his shorts was the tree. You take a seed of a tree, it's in the dirt. It doesn't even have everything it needs, and it can actually sprout and start growing.
Yeah.
Then it starts growing. A tree grows in 2 directions. It grows down and it grows up. And so one is drawn towards the light and one grows just due to gravity. But the tree is so strong through its foundation because the tree you see on top is probably nearly the same size as the root system on bottom.
Right.
And so people see the big tree and go, wow, that's amazing. But they think it's lucky. They think it happened. It just became, it's like that's all. But like, they don't see the work in the dirt. And the work in the dirt is the part that people run from. They get tired of. They get discouraged. They slow down. They're like, this isn't working.
Because nobody sees it.
Because nobody sees it. Nobody's coming to give you that attaboy. So it's just that small beginning and that story of how we started the podcast, even with the light bulb sitting on a lamp with a cover off of it.
Yeah.
And now we're here, which is amazing. it's that same thing. It's the tree. We've had conversations about what our next strategy is with the podcast, around what we were seeing and what we weren't seeing. And it was like we had to be reminded, like, we're doing this for one person. So we keep going. And so that's it. That's the undertake part. I know God will bless this. He already has. We've had people reach out and ask us and talk to us and compliment the podcast. So it's making sure we undertake it.
You have to set roots. You have to build a foundation to then build on top of it the structure that people will eventually see that will ultimately end up impacting others. The thing that Christ has built you for will crumble if you don't first set the foundation, first allow the roots to set in. And a lot of that goes unnoticed, to your point. Most of the time for the first, I don't know, it's different for everybody, but for the first while, you're going to spend a lot of time doing things that nobody sees, and you're going to think and wonder, what am I doing this for?
Yeah.
Should I quit? Should I move on and do something else? No. Sometimes, yes. I mean, there are times, but more times than not, you questioning yourself is not reason to quit.
Yep.
It's just a matter of your roots are not set deep enough. Your foundation's not quite built. Let those things take root. Let those things be completed. And then you begin to build the structure that people see, that you can then be proud of, that you can grow beyond that point. The foundation is set then. That kind of reminds me of my first story. I don't want to take too much time on it because it's kind of a long and funny story, and you can go back and listen to it in I believe one of our first episodes. I tell the story of my first property.
Yep.
But I had so many times throughout that process that I could have quit. I didn't even know at the time like what I was really getting myself into. I just knew I needed to buy something, so I went out and did, and I bought it ended up being okay, but it was not a great property. Most people start that way. You start rough and you grow and you improve. Yep. You sell off some of the things that you first initially bought and you buy better things. And
I have
stuff
some
like
right now. I go, why did I buy that one?
Yeah, right. And I was in that same position with that first property, and I had so many problems and just issues. It taught me so much.
Yep.
I learned more probably in that first property, surrounded by those first couple of years, than I have the entire time after that, because it put me in a position where I had to figure it out. And as I've said many, many times, if you keep moving, everything is figure outable.
Indeed.
You can do it. So ask yourself, what has God already placed in my hand that I've been overlooking? I'm sure that most everybody listening to this podcast can think of something in their life that they've thought, I'm great at that. I should lean into that, but I'm scared.
Yeah.
I don't think I can do it. What if I fail? What if I succeed?
That's
all of those things go through your mind, and you go, I just don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Well, you don't get that time back. If you decide not to do it today, and then you decide 3 years from now that now I'm going to take the chance. Now I'm going to step out in faith. Why not 3 years ago?
Yep.
Start now.
Yeah. It's so fascinating that we're scared of failing, but I don't think anybody ever really recognizes that you're equally scared to succeed, because if it works, you've got to own it, and then you got to keep going. And that can be scary too for a lot of people.
Daunting.
So what God has placed in you that you're trying to discover often comes from a place of, you can feel it in your heart. A lot of people will say you're really good at that thing, and it energizes you when you talk about it. When you share some of that with somebody, that topic, that thing, and you get excited to talk about it, or you talk about it a lot, like I often do, that typically isn't aligned with what God has in your heart, because you're getting excited just talking about that thing. And so just pay attention to those cues. God has ways he'll show us what our gifting is.
Yeah. Stewardship called by God, whatever that looks like in your life, most times it starts small and grows slow. And so I would just encourage people to get started. I know I hammer that so often, that action is so important. But I really just feel like most things can be resolved by taking action, I would say. And maybe the action isn't deciding to do something, but rather deciding to not do something. But take action, make decisions, keep moving forward. Don't sit stagnant. That's not stewardship. God's called you for a purpose, for a reason. Go step into your calling. It is important. So share with someone in the some of the small beginnings that you may be going through, and follow Courageous Stewards. We are thrilled that you guys decided to come back and listen to us, and we hope that we can bring some inspiration and excitement to inspire you to do something, to be something, and we look forward to bringing you more. We love you guys. We'll see you later.
Thanks for joining us today on Courageous Stewards, where legacy meets leadership and faith fuels the journey.
If this episode stirred something in you, share it with someone who's ready to step boldly into their calling. Subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected as we continue to explore what it means to lead with conviction, serve with excellence, and build with eternity in mind.
So until next time, keep showing up, keep stewarding well, and remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's obedience in motion.